bit. What about travel insurance? Is that difficult to arrange if you're on a cycling holiday, or is it fairly straightforward?
No, not at all. It's very straightforward. If you go to your own insurance provider, or go to one of the comparison websites, I'd say from experience, people don't pay a tenner a week for it. And that's for the kind of most expensive. I think £6, £7, £8 is the sort of normal fare for getting it. And if you're doing something longer, it's cheaper. So it's not an issue. But do make sure that you give them all the details. Tell them what you're doing, where you're going, and all of that, because, well, I don't want to slag off insurance companies on air.
No.
But you know what I mean.
I do. I was at an animal sanctuary 5 years ago, and I spoke to my bank because I got travel insurance. And I said, am I covered to handle leopards and cheetahs? And I said, yeah. I said, you sure? Yeah. Can you check? It turns out I wasn't. So, yeah, you do have to be careful when it comes to travel insurance. Never take the first answer.
Absolutely. Yeah. But as I say, it's a matter of just telling them exactly what you're doing, and once they accept it, then you've got to go with that.
I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. They don't tell the insurance company what they're doing, and then when they try and claim, it's a problem.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. That's it.
Good morning, sir.
Hi, I'm checking in for my flight.
Lovely. Business or pleasure?
Holiday.
And where will you be staying?
With my parents, they live over there.
Lovely. Travel insurance?
Oh, no thanks.
Have you got travel insurance?
No.
Checked to see if you need any vaccinations?
No.
Checked out the local laws?
No, look. Why do I need to know all this? I'm just staying with my parents.
Is either of your parents A local lawyer, or the chief of police, B, fabulously wealthy, C, the owner of a private plane with its own fully trained medical staff, or D, none of the above?
D?
Lovely. Are you a superhero and in fact immortal?
Things can go wrong on holiday abroad, even if you're staying with family. So check it out before you check in. Find out more at gov.uk/knowbeforeyougo.
You can follow me on Twitter at holiday_hut. Still to come, travel news, the story about bed bugs in an aircraft, and possible strike action for those travelling on the Eurotunnel over Easter. My guest is Peter Stevenson. We're talking cycling tours. He's a company director at Gascon Cycling Tours. And we've mentioned them a little bit in brief while we've been talking about basics of cycling tours and cycling holidays. But now we're going to find out a bit more about them. And, well, I suppose the first question is, who are Gascon Cycling Tours?
Well, Gascon Cycling Tours, we're myself, Peter Stevenson, Fergus O'Neill and Helen Sharp. Fergus and I have been friends for over 40 years now. We met when we were 18. We played rugby together for many years, and we've been friends throughout our lives. Helen is Fergus's partner, and we live here in France full time. We're here all, we're here all the time. I've been here for 12 years. Fergus and Helen have been here for nearly 5 years at this stage. So we're local, and we run absolutely everything ourselves. We're hands-on. So when you contact us, when you make the phone call or send an email, you're talking to one of us. So you get a reply in English. And whilst you're here, if there are any issues or whatever, it's always us that you'll be talking to. So there isn't a language problem, and you're talking to one of the directors, one of the owners of the company all the time. So we're not offloading any responsibility. That's who we are. We're a small company, but we're on the ground, and this is what we do for a living.
Why did you start up?
Primarily to earn a living. So the success of the business is important to the three of us, absolutely vital. To live out in France, it's not cheap as people think it is. Some people think it is. So, we have to earn a living. We've got to provide a roof over our heads. So to do that, we understand that we've got to give good service. If the company's going to survive, then we've got to give everybody a good holiday so that they leave and they go home and they tell everybody what a great time they have. That's the way we grow our business, and that's our philosophy. But having said that, John, you wake up here, at dawn and the sun's just rising. it's just beautiful. It's like a magnet. It pulls you outside. You just want to be outside in it. And then to jump on your bike and cycle through the early morning freshness with the sun just rising and it kind of warm, and it's just an absolute pleasure. So I can't really describe what we do as a job. It's certainly a labour of love if there ever was one. It's just a great experience. And to us it was a kind of no-brainer when we said, we've got to start earning a living out here. What shall we do? And we all enjoy the cycling. So it was a matter of bringing people out and showing them how beautiful it is.
You said briefly where you're based, but if somebody's geography of France is quite bad, could you just describe where you are?
All right, we're based in a village called Milan, not Milan, Milan, which is in Léger. It's southwest France. It's a beautiful rural community on a lake. It's close to towns of Marciac and Morand, which probably means very little to you either. Mm-hmm. But if you take a line from, say, Toulouse to Pau, which would be two kind of well-known, take a line, we're about halfway down that line between Toulouse and Pau. And it's in Léger, which it's a principal department of what was formerly known as Gascony, and hence Gascon Cycling Tours. There are no boundaries for Gascony these days, but Gascony used to be owned by England, and it was the subject of the 100 Years' War back in the 11th and 12th century. So all the towns that are around here, they're all fortified, and there's a huge amount of history, and a lot of it still remains intact today. The original towns and the wooded villages, the wooded buildings in the villages, they're all still here, and covered markets and arcades. It's a wonderful area just to explore. So we're Gascony, we're Léger, and in an article a few years ago, the Daily Telegraph voted Léger the second best place in the world to live. They said it was just a hidden gem. People really didn't know where it was, and there weren't that many tourists. And it's still like that today. It's still very much like that. Very few tourists. Well, there's quite a lot, but it's not. You're not talking as a tourist centre. And it's a very natural place. And as I say, it's halfway between Toulouse and Pau. So we're an hour and a half from Toulouse. There's an airport there. We're about 2 hours from the Atlantic coast and Biarritz, 3 hours from Bordeaux, and just in front of the Pyrenees Mountains.
So you're kind of remote, but close to lots of stuff as well.
Oh, yes. There's Auch is the county town, and that goes back to Roman times. That's so old. It's where D'Artagnan came from, just outside there, the Three Musketeers. And as I say, huge amount of history in the place. And it's just there to be enjoyed, and to do it on a bike. It's just a wonderful thing to do.
You can keep up to date with travel news and leave me a message at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. On last week's show, I discussed social media and how it can help you plan and research your travel. It was taken from the Ultimate Holiday Planning Guide from my webpage, johnguinn.me. It's an updated version of a book I published a few years ago. It updated to make sure all the links, all the websites actually exist. It's amazing how many websites disappear over the years. They're very useful, and all of a sudden they've gone. But sometimes it can be very expensive running a website. But this week I'm going to continue on that, from information from that book, using the internet to find out what the weather's going to be like, the right location, and also cover government advisories and why you should pay more attention to other government advisories than just the British one. But that's still to come after I've finished speaking to Peter Stevenson, who's one of the owners of Gascon Cycling Tours. Yes, They do cycling tours. We've talked a little bit about where they're based and why they started, and we talked the basics of cycling tours as well. But what happens if somebody's really keen at cycling and their partner isn't, or a group of friends want to go cycling and one of them doesn't, and they don't want to be dragged along on a bike, first time they've been on it for years, get sore parts after a few hours and get really miserable for the rest of the week? So we need to know exactly what Gascon Cycling Tours offers those who like being on a bike and those that don't.
What our week consists of is it's a week on a bed and breakfast basis at our farmhouse. So it's an 18th century farmhouse. And bed and breakfast, and we include 3 evening meals. So, for example, the holiday starts on a Saturday. We'll meet and greet you, show you accommodation. Then we have drinks by the pool, and then host a full dinner for all our guests that evening, the Saturday evening. On Sunday then, we head out, as I was saying earlier, we head out for a short ride just to get you acquainted with the area. We normally go up to a place called Bassus, because it has a lovely Sunday market up there, and it's about an hour's ride up there and an hour back. But in that time, you get a feel for the roads and a feel for, just cycling on the other side of the road, all this sort of thing. So we get a feel for it on Sunday. And then on Monday, we decide then what we want to do on Monday, how far we want to go. And we've all sorts of kind of set tours to various towns. So we can say, right, for example, we're going to go to Maubeuge, and that takes 2 hours there, 2 hours back. So that's a 4-hour one, or we can go somewhere else or somewhere else. So we'll decide this between us on Sunday evening, and then on Monday we'll head off to wherever it is each day. And then on Tuesday we host another evening meal, a full evening meal on Tuesday, just to kind of discuss how things are going. And then again on Friday, before you leave, we leave on Saturday, but on Friday evening we host a final meal just to thank you all, get your feedback, and that's it. So it's a bed and breakfast, full accommodation, 3 evening meals, plus all of the guided tours and everything that goes with that. The bikes and everything, that's all included. I'm
what's known as an awkward traveller because I'm a vegan. Do you cater for people with specific dietary requirements, or do you need much notice for somebody as awkward as me?
We need very little notice, to be honest, because all the food is bought fresh. But we like to know before you arrive that you do have some sort of dietary requirement. But we mention this when you sign up at the beginning. It's one of our questions that we ask: do you have any dietary? So it's never an issue, and it's never a problem. As I say, we do all the cooking ourselves. We don't bring in chefs or anything like that. So just once we know what you can and can't eat, then we just cater for that.
I was at a restaurant in the Caribbean once, and she refused to believe about my diet because she thought I was too fat. Apparently, you have to be skinny to be a vegan, but it doesn't matter what your diet is. You can be overweight no matter what. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, if a couple comes to you and one of them really hates cycling, what happens to them? Are they dragged around on a bike sulking, or is there something for them to do as well?
Well, this is the beauty of what we're offering, and this is again how we're different to most cycling holidays. We are, as I say, it's a single centre concept. So if somebody comes and they don't want to cycle, they can just stay at the farmhouse. But on top of that, we can organise for them all sorts of stuff. I'll just give you a small idea of what there is around here. There are natural spas and hydrotherapy, so they can do that. Massage, reflexology, and your normal general well-being products. There's farmers markets, antique sales. During the summer, they're on all the time, everywhere around us. Every day there's farmers markets and sales on. There's horse riding, there's golf. We can organise cooking, sewing, and craft courses. There's fishing, walking, canoeing. The list is endless.